What's up guys, it's Blade Lore, and today we're going to be doing a kind of different video. As I've stated in a couple videos now, I want to be more open about my faith. And in this video I want to kind of talk about my personal Bible collection and kind of where each of that was. Well, where I was with each Bible that I owned in the faith. It'll kind of show how I started and where I'm at now. This is only Bibles. This isn't other theological books or books about the Bible. This is just Bibles. I have other theological books or, again, biblical commentaries or, books about martyrs and saints, stuff like that. But this is just solely the Bible. So let's start in the beginning. So ever since I was young, I was raised with the Christian values. The typical Protestant Christian home, I knew Jesus was God, died on the cross, rose from the dead, stuff like that. Ever since I could remember, I knew those stories. And my mother would read me these stories with her German Bibles. If you guys don't know already, I am German. I am a dual citizen. I was born in the US, but I am a citizen of Germany as well. And yeah, these are from her childhood that she would read to us, and I would sometimes flip through when I was young just because, I don't know. So yeah, these are my mother's Kinderbibel from when she was a kid, and I have them now because, I don't know, I just thought they were cool. So yeah, I was raised, my family is Southern Baptist. I used to be Southern Baptist. We'll get into that later once we dive in the later parts of my Christian walk, but for the most part, I knew Southern Baptist and Protestant theology. And around first grade, well, actually, first day first grade, according to this, I received my very first personal Bible, which is this ESV Children's Bible. And I would look at the pictures, it was cool, but I didn't read it much because, I'm a kid and I don't really care about it. I believed in Jesus kind of the same way a kid believes in Santa Claus. It was just like, you're told to believe it, that he's real, and that's about it. You just do it because your parents told you to. And, I mean, yeah, that was about the extent of my faith, I was young, and I just cared about different things. I had the mind of a child. I just didn't focus on what was actually important. So, as I got older, my parents got me more Bibles. I mean, this is still a kid's Bible, but I had this kind of throughout late elementary, middle school, and I mean, you can even see a little devotional in there that was for an FCA. I got up and spoke about something. I think it was Thanksgiving or something because it was around Thanksgiving. And these were the two Bibles I had for most of my childhood. I mean, also as a child, I just kind of found this recently, but apparently I was given this when I got baptized, this little NLT Bible for beginning Christians. I've heard the NLT is kind of a really good place to start for Christian beginners, but again, I didn't read any of these. Most of these were just shoved in a bookshelf, and that's about it. Again, I believed in God the same way a kid believes in Santa Claus. He's just told to believe, and that's the extent of that. You don't question it, you just do it because your parents tell you to. And it was like that for years. Even when, I eventually stopped believing in Santa Claus, I knew there was a God. I knew heaven and hell was real, but that was it. I just believed because I was told to. And then eventually, I got saved overseas. I felt the extent of God's love washed over me. I felt the guilt of my sins, and I, took in really what Christ did for me. So when I came back home, I asked for a actual Bible, not a children's Bible, just a normal Bible. And so that same Christmas of that same year I got saved, my parents gifted me this ESV study Bible. This kind of cover is beat up because, I use the Bible, I don't use the cover, so I just toss it to the side. And here it is. I use this, and I plan to use it throughout my kind of devotional series. It's not really devotional, but it's a series where I talk about the Bible and issues of life that biblical advice can be applied to. It's kind of hard to explain unless you watch it. And you can tell this Bible's been loved a lot. I have used this extensively throughout high school, especially my senior year. We'll get into that later. and it's held up. I plan to continue using this Bible to preach and minister, and that's about it. You know, I have a personal Bible I read now. I actually got it today, and I'll show you that in a couple minutes, but yeah. I got pretty far in this Bible, and we'll get into that later, so for now, we'll put that here, because that's the Bible I use now, and yeah, so, you know, you enter high school, you have this new faith, and you're eager to share it, but high school kind of sucks sometimes, especially as a freshman coming from a foreign land, and people ridiculed me for my faith. They called me, like, well, stuff I can't repeat, but, you know, I eventually kind of lost that fire for God because of how hard I was judged. And I didn't know how hard that walk with God would be. I just, you know, felt that love and loved him back. And I'm ashamed to say it, but it's true. My kind of love and fire for God blew out, especially sophomore year. I started cussing more to be taken seriously. I put the Bible to the side and stopped reading it as much. And it was just like, yeah, you know, that fire for God dwindled. And I mean, I met some really nice Christian friends that helped me get back on my feet, but I still didn't have that relationship with God. I mean, we talked about the Bible. My knowledge was so little, I felt like I couldn't hold any conversation with them. And I mean, they helped me. We would have Bible studies, and you know, during this, my dad gave me this because he had it laying around. It's this giant ESV, and I decided to show it off to my Christian friends. And he also gave me these two Gideon's Pocketbooks. This is from 1968. This is from 2008. So my Bible collection grew more and more, but my love for God didn't. It just stopped. Until one day, my father decided to take me on a religious pilgrimage. At the time, I was filled with a lot of vengeance and wanting to get even with those who had wronged me. And I went to Spain on the Santiago de Compostela. It was led by a Catholic priest, and not all of us were Catholic. I think there was only one other Catholic, but I was so exposed to just the beauty of Christianity. And then, you know, I was still angry at the time and still wanting to get even with people, but it was around the third or fourth day. We went to this small cathedral, and there I saw this statue of Christ after he was taken down from the cross, all the wounds fully displayed. And I heard the voice of God say, "I did this for you, I love you." And I pondered that for a while, and then when I came home, I realized, you know, it's not always about getting even with people. It's about forgiveness. Sometimes, you know, it doesn't just, you know, set that person free. It sets you free from all that anger, that grief. So I chose to forgive some people who had wronged me. And that fire for God came back the moment I accepted to forgive. So I started reading the Bible more. I started with the New Testament because I figured that every time I start with the Old Testament, I always stop. So I read the entire New Testament. As you can tell, it's been worn down a lot, stains and all that. I love this Bible. And I worked a lot through the Old Testament, but I got lazy toward the end. I mean, I even have this little paper here of like Old Testament books to work through. So I got a good chunk of it out. Still a lot to work on, but yeah. This was my Bible I used especially in my senior year of high school, where I started to minister more, and I took in the risks of what would happen, and I lost a lot of things I enjoyed through that ministry, but it was worth it. So this Bible is very special to me because it's been through a lot, ups and downs of my Christian walk. So we're going to put that kind of here, and we're going to start going on kind of afterwards. So kind of afterward, I started, you know, picking up more and more Bibles because my friends had different translations, and I wanted to read their translations when we would have theological discussions. I started looking into different theologies, mainly Roman Catholicism, because the trip was very Catholic. Spain is a very Catholic country, at least in terms of history. I don't know how it is now. So I also picked up, you know, a KJV, because my friend, one of them, has a KJV. So I decided to pick that up. It's only a Dollar Tree one because I didn't want to spend a lot of money on it. I just wanted to have one because, you know, why not have a really old but admirable and respectable version of the Bible? It's a very historic Bible, the KJV. And then alongside, I decided eventually, why not pick up the Red Letter Edition? If you guys don't know what that is, it's basically just every word Jesus says is in red letters. So I had a KJV and a red letter KJV, and they look nice together. I don't read them much because I'm not much of a KJV fan. I had another close friend who reads an NIV, so one time at Goodwill, I found this for $2 and picked it up. This is a very beautiful NIV Bible. I only read it kind of when I talk with her, but it's from a United Methodist church. Well, they're not United Methodists anymore because they didn't agree with some of the more progressive ways the United Methodists were going to. But yeah, it still has the stamp in there. I don't want to show it because it'll kind of show where I live or the general area. And, sorry, y'all ain't going to visit me in person anytime soon. But yeah, I have a KJV, ESV, and NIV now. And throughout that, I also acquired a couple more Bibles, like Army Bibles for my dad, and this smaller NIV. And I mean, they're cool, but I just have them more just because I thought they were neat. And eventually, for my 18th birthday, around that time, well, actually for a few months since the pilgrimage, I stopped looking at Roman Catholicism because I had a few disagreements, but I felt very pulled to Eastern Orthodoxy and ancient Christianity. So my parents decided, okay, for his 18th birthday, let's get him this, which is supposed to be a direct translation of the original Hebrew and Greek from those manuscripts. I think it's also has some new King James Version in there, but I mean, it's so big, I can't read it much, and the text is really small, but it's cool to have. I like using it for arguments, theological arguments, because it's, the Greek manuscripts. You can't really argue with that. So this was my main Bible I read. I use these to talk to friends, and this is the one I used to argue. The other Bibles are just kind of to remind me of where I came from. And then finally, just today, actually, as of recording this, for a while, I decided, there's a lot of things with Protestantism, the Protestant church I admire, but I don't think I belong in the Protestant church. My views changed a lot when I looked into the early church, and eventually I was led to Eastern Orthodoxy. So I got the Orthodox Study Bible. I just got this today. I plan on reading a lot. I've already gotten most of the kind of introduction where it talks about the early church done. And just like the ESV, I'm going to start with the Gospels. So this was definitely an interesting video. I mean, for me, got a lot of flashbacks talking about this because it was just this is where I am as a Christian. This is my story, and it's pretty personal. I go from not caring about God to having several Bibles, writing a lot about him, and taking almost a year to question and challenge my faith, and eventually be led to ancient faith, ancient Christianity. I mean, I have a great respect for my parents. They're Southern Baptists, and I do believe the Southern Baptist, is a biblical church. I just have decided personally that I belong to a different church. They're all God's church. But, it's like someone said, each denomination is like a different part of the body of Christ. The church is the body of Christ. They're just different parts. And I believe this is the part I belong to the most. I'll make a video about why I left Protestantism for Eastern Orthodoxy if you guys are interested in that. But this is just kind of my Bible collection and where I'm at in the faith. So this is the Bible I plan on reading a lot. And this is the Bible I plan on ministering to, because that's just kind of, I don't know. I feel like, if I use the Orthodox Bible with a lot of the tradition and theology, it would kind of confuse a lot of people who aren't that familiar with it. If I use just kind of a not basic, ESV, it gets the core message down, and that'll help people guide them to, Baptist, Methodist, Catholic, Orthodox, whatever, that's where God guides them. This is just for me to plant the core message. This is for me to figure out my faith, where I belong, and I belong in the Eastern Orthodox Church. I have not officially joined a church yet because I'm moving soon, but hopefully I will soon be able to officially join an Orthodox church. I go to one here, But again, I'm moving soon, so I can't join it, although I wish I could. It's such a beautiful church. It's a small church too, and I like it. But yeah, that's my story. That's my walk with God. I hope you guys enjoyed. Comment down below what if you're a Christian, kind of your walk with God, if you feel comfortable sharing it. And yeah, I hope to hear from you guys soon. I'll definitely plan on making more theological videos or just videos about my walk with God. Like, again, that video about why I'm deciding to join Eastern Orthodoxy. I don't know if the words convert, because I mean, I believe in Jesus, you're not converting from one to the other. I don't know what the proper term is. Transitioning, I think sounds better. I don't know. I'll figure out what the proper word is probably after recording this, but see, I always yap at the end of every video. I mean, you guys can click off now. I mean, this is the end of the video. God bless. Take care. Goodbye.